Hello everyone and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. With so many leaders in the church in open rebellion to her and her divinely revealed teachings, it's worth alerting people to the treachery. Currently, in the English-speaking world, at any given moment, you will find some combination of the following four priests spreading error and sowing confusion anywhere they can gain an audience. And because of their influence in church circles, they gain entrance to many, many audiences. First, the big four are Father James Martin, Father Thomas Rosica, Father Brian Massingale, and Father Timothy Radcliffe. Combined, they form the leading edge of a public relations campaign to introduce doubt and confusion into the minds of as many Catholics who will give them a hearing. One of the favorite topics for each of them is how the Church's teachings on sexual morality can essentially be ignored, sidelined, or downplayed, even completely rejected. This is especially true in the arena of homosexuality and even gender dysphoria, the mental illness commonly referred to as transgenderism. Simply stated, they all think the Church is wrong in her magisterial teachings. They are always suggesting, to young minds in particular, that the teachings are outdated and sooner or later the Church will amend them and get in step with the culture. They'll get with it. A couple of weeks ago, Father Thomas Rosica was given access to over 100 young people at a Theology on Tap event hosted by the Archdiocese of Chicago under Cardinal Cupich. On stage with Rosica was the out and proud homosexual writer for America magazine, a Jesuit publication, Michael O'Loughlin. It's ironic to have them speak at an event with the name theology in it, because what they offer is their own distorted perceptions and opinions, definitely not theology. Then, of course, there is Father James Martin, who is on a personal, non-stop campaign to get the Church to change its teaching on the psychological disorder of homosexuality. The homosexualist priest will be the keynote speaker at the Equestrian Order of the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre this coming October in New York, with Cardinal Dolan's smiling acceptance, of course. And now reports are that Martin will be addressing a gathering of elementary and high school teachers of the Archdiocese of New York on September 19th at the Westchester County Convention Center. More poison, more treachery, more deceit. Father Brian Massingale, as recently as last year's Religious Education Congress in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, stood on stage and after a roughly 45-minute, cleverly twisted, cherry-picked presentation before a sizable crowd in the main arena, declared that church teaching is that you can disobey church teaching, conveniently in the area of sexuality. The next day, he was present on stage at the Gender Dysphoria Conference, lending his support to more evil. And just as Father Rosica has carte blanche at just about any diocese he shows up at, so too does Father Martin, likewise protected by higher-ups. So too does Father Massingale, who was given at least tacit permission to speak at the LA conference by Los Angeles Archbishop Jose Gomez. And Father Timothy Radcliffe, the former master of the Dominicans for nearly all of the 1990s. This man described homosexuality as Eucharistic, in that a great sharing and sacrifice for the other occurs. Radcliffe is the untouchable, a cleric who must have extremely influential protectors because he is rarely, if ever, denied access or rebuked by anyone in the hierarchy. All four of these high-profile men continually travel the Catholic world. Seminaries are a favorite haunt of Rosica when he's not pumping his poison out through the salt and light television deception he runs in Canada. Martin, of course, has invented himself as the secular media go-to guy for all matters gay and Catholic, providing him a perfect springboard to deceive many. Massingale and Radcliffe are more like inside men, doing most of their damage at Catholic conferences and retreats, where they can pervert the minds of many at least nominal Catholics, many of whom are looking for an excuse to bypass the Church's teachings. Regardless of their venues, they each are protected and promoted by men higher up the food chain who are happy to let them do the public side of what they privately wish to accomplish. Men like this embrace young men who are sexually confused and assure them that their disordered passions are good and the Church is wrong. This is what priests of this mind told me in my younger years in the midst of confusion and sin. They lie to souls in crisis to make themselves feel better about their own personal sin and evil. And they are given unfettered access to such souls at diocesan conferences, theology on tap events, seminarians who they could corrupt before ordination, and the whole rest of the speaking circuit. When they aren't peddling their poison in front of live crowds and audiences, they're writing books and articles and granting interviews and keeping themselves front and center with a great assist from their friends in the so-called Catholic media, including Church of Nice establishment outfits who rarely say anything about this wicked strategy. It is a constant stream of evil and treachery coming from these men, thinly disguised as social justice efforts or caring for human rights. Father Timothy Radcliffe has even assumed the directorship of the Las Casas Institute in England, dedicated, as its webpage says, to the promotion of, you guessed it, social justice and human rights. Two incredibly elastic terms, which mean essentially whatever you want them to mean. Hillary Clinton, for example, famously said that gay rights are human rights, something it would be difficult to imagine any of these four men disagreeing with, given their hundreds of public comments, not to mention their more private ones. It would be hard to find a more frightful foursome of clergy than these four, not necessarily because of any intellectual prowess per se, but because they have positioned themselves, or have been positioned, to have easy and constant access to the laity who can be easily deceived. The laity deserve to know the wicked agenda these men spread throughout the Catholic world. None of these men should ever be allowed near young minds or those that teach young minds. The laity also needs to understand that these men are protected, which means that there are many above them who are more hidden but no less dangerous. Indeed, if any public scandal ever erupted over any one of them, they would simply be replaced, and the agenda would simply continue to be pressed without them. This is the state of affairs in many quarters of the church these days, and very few are saying anything about it. So, someone has to. Guard your souls from these Catholic imposters. They use the church and her resources to promote their own personal agendas, and they are protected by others who are in league with them. God love you. I'm Michael Voris.